Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Sick to Fit Facebook Live. I'm one of the co-authors of Sick to Fit, Howard Jacobson, and I was moved to jump on this medium today because I'm hearing so many stories from clients, from acquaintances, from friends, from family, from the news media about what a hard holiday season this is and what a hard Thanksgiving a lot of people are having. So I'd love this to be a Q&A session, so you can, if you're on listening, watching live, I think you can post comments and I'll get a chance to see them. There might be a way you'll have to give permission to Ecamm for me to see who is actually typing the question or comment. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I have the Facebook thing open as well, so I should be able to pop in there and see if you have any questions that we can discuss. I want to, while we're waiting, I do have some prepared remarks, and I've been thinking a lot about the idea of gratitude, right? Like gratitude is one of those transformative emotions that when you have an attitude of gratitude, as they say, like people who are grateful frequently tend to do better in life, live longer, make more money, report being happier, are luckier, take advantage of opportunities. And there's all sorts of sort of psychological and systematic and spiritual explanations for gratitude. And they all make sense to me on various levels. And of course, Thanksgiving is the holiday all about giving thanks, about being grateful, about expressing gratitude. And what do we do when we don't feel grateful? Like there have been times in my life where I just have not felt particularly grateful. And the last thing in the world that I needed at that point was someone coming up to me and saying, hey, you need to be grateful. So what do we do if we're feeling mean and low? And listen, there's plenty of things to feel not that grateful about during this holiday season. Let's say you're not traveling because you're following instructions and you're having a Thanksgiving at home with maybe just your immediate family, or maybe your kids are off and they haven't come home, and just like you're feeling like separate and alone. And Thanksgiving is all about family and feasting and tradition and football and parades. And now you're living a very, very small Thanksgiving. You're like, why am I even going to cook? Why am I even going to make a pecan pie or buy the key lime pie? What for? What's even the purpose? All right. So to be told then, well, Thanksgiving is all about gratitude, actually can sound pretty sour. So at the same time, it is all about gratitude. So how do we approach this? How do we navigate the benefits of this stance of appreciating what you've gotten, and this at the same time acknowledging loss, acknowledging that you're maybe feeling this is not what I wanted this year. This feels small and mean and deprived, and frankly, I'm kind of upset. I'm not that grateful. Or maybe you're doing that, you're staying home, you're being responsible, and you're seeing other people doing things that you think are irresponsible because of COVID, because they're traveling, they're getting on a plane going across the country, they're having dinner with grandma, and you can feel a kind of self-righteous rage combined with your own sense of loss, right? A real resentment that other people are having irresponsible fun and you're not. And that's even, for me, feels even more toxic, right? So what do we do? So one thing I want to offer is to go back to the origins of Thanksgiving and at its best. So, right, we know there's like a troubled history, at least in the United States, of what Thanksgiving actually means, and when it was declared and how it kind of whitewashed, frankly, oppression, stolen land, and genocide. Right? So I don't want to talk about that, but I want to talk about the idea of Thanksgiving in its purest form, which stretches back far beyond, the United States and the buckle-wearing pilgrims and all that, to the harvest festival, to bringing in the harvest and seeing that you have enough bounty to make it through the year. So, a basic gratitude for being alive, a baseline, like, oh, I'm here. And again, when we're feeling mean and low, that can escape us. So I think the way in there is to recognize and honor those low feelings, those feelings of resentment or anger or loss or loneliness, and kind of put them on the table. So imagine you're actually setting a metaphorical Thanksgiving table, but the table is your awareness. It's the table is going to hold everything in your awareness, from the sights and smells and foods and all that of Thanksgiving to so that's sort of the objects of your awareness, but also the parts of the awareness itself, like the resentment. If you are fused with that resentment and you're just like, I am resentful of all those people, or I am mourning what we should have had and we're not having. If you're seeing the world from that perspective, you're fused with it. But if you can take a step back and look at the resentment and look at the mourning and put both of those on the table as well, then you get to see it all. You get to see the whole picture, and you're no longer fused. You're no longer acting, responding with the energy of that particular lens. Right? It's like a lens you can hold up, you can look through, oh, the world, and then you can put it back down, and you can see things from a broader perspective. You can see everything on the table. And then you can see also on the table, there's another lens that's like, I'm healthy. A lot of people aren't. I have a home. A lot of people don't. Right? I have loved ones around. A lot of people don't. Or whatever there is, to be able to pick up that lens as well. So it's not like gratitude becomes an obligation, I should feel grateful. Gratitude now becomes a choice among many. It becomes an option. And you get to play with that option and see what happens when you recognize the blessing of being alive. And if you don't like it, you can put it back down. You can pick up the resentment. You can pick up the grieving. All right? What we're looking for here is not an obligation, but choice. The flexibility to see what serves me here. So the second thing I want to say about Thanksgiving is that in the American context, at its best, it's a holiday about adapting to unfamiliar circumstances, to adapting ourselves to a new land base, eating foods from that land base, being resilient and flexible, and again, adapting to a land in which there is scarcity of certain things. There's abundance of certain things and scarcity of certain things. And there's insecurity. Some seasons there's a lot, some seasons there's a little. There's unfamiliarity. There are unanswered questions about how are we going to make a living off of this land base. And human beings are the adaptable species. When you look at where we populate the planet and the various different kinds of agricultures and cultures that we have created, we can live in the Kalahari Desert, where the San people have been living for about 150 years since they were kicked out of all the choice lands in southern Africa. We have Inuit people living above the Arctic line. We have people living in deserts, people living on tops of mountains, people living near shores, by lakes. All right. Vast tundras. Human beings are adaptable. And Thanksgiving is a story. American Thanksgiving is a story about adaptation, not about entitlement, not about, hey, we're going to, take the Mayflower, head back and go get some of our, tea and biscuits and ye old English food. No, it's about landing here and figuring out, being open to what is new and unfamiliar and making something of that. And that's what we're being called to do this season. This is probably the most historically traditional Thanksgiving we may ever have. Things that we thought were available to us are no longer available to us. Options that were open are no longer open. What do we have? We might have just me, just the two of us, just the five of us. Might not be able to find a tofurkey this year. I don't know. But whatever it is, to recognize that our willingness to adapt to it, to say, okay, yeah, I feel a loss. I feel some sadness. I feel mourning. I feel some resentment. I feel all these things that I wish were different. I have all these preferences that aren't being met. And that is part of Thanksgiving as well. That's more part of Thanksgiving than we're going to have cranberry sauce and sweet potato pie and stuffing and green beans almondine or whatever your holiday traditions are. All right? And we've forgotten that. It's easy to forget it. But, that adaptation is really the core, the heart of Thanksgiving. I want to talk about two more things. So one is very practical, which is you get to decide what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat during the holiday seasons. Let's talk about Thanksgiving. A lot of people gain a lot of weight during Thanksgiving and during Christmas because they tell themselves, well, this is special. And again, nothing wrong with choosing to do that. The problem is a lot of people wish they wouldn't. Like they're looking forward to Thanksgiving actually with dread. Like, oh, I know I'm going to overeat. And afterwards, they're upset about it. But that said, being without a plan means you're kind of at the mercy of whatever is happening, whatever triggers you. So what I want to suggest is if you have rules, standards that you adhere to throughout the year, decide, first of all, do I want to adhere to those standards on Thanksgiving Day, on Christmas Day? Yes and no are both valid answers. I'm not here judging you saying, oh, wrong answer, you said no, the answer was yes, you maintain the same standard all year round. I don't know what's right for you. But you decide, do I want to maintain that standard? And part of the equation is it realistic? Do I really think that I can? Another part of that equation is, do I want to? Will that bring me peace, happiness, optimize everything I want out of life? For some people, loosening up during a holiday is a good idea. It will make them happier overall in the long run. For other people, loosening up over the holiday is a terrible idea. It can lead to all sorts of recrimination. It can cause, if they have certain health issues, it could trigger them right away. It could lead to struggles that last for weeks or months later. So what we're talking about is making a decision based on what's best for you and what's realistic. So if you decide I am going to change my standards, then the next step is to create very clear, specific new ones. They don't have to be strict ones, but you want them to be clear. I'm going to have one slice of non-vegan pie. I'm going to eat one drumstick of turkey. I'm going to have the mashed potatoes with the gravy. One serving or two servings, whatever it is. Have a plan so that you can be clear about when you have reached it so you don't overextend. Right? And decide, what does success look like? Picture it. You can picture the meal. You can picture whether it's a buffet or family style or serving from the kitchen. Picture what you're going to do that would constitute success. And get real clear about it, and then carry out that plan. Okay. So that was the technical advice for the holiday, for Thanksgiving. I'll give you one more little thing that I've been thinking about kind of all day today, which is there are certain struggles that I have in terms of my own behavior, my own standards, my own actions, that I have struggled with for a long time, for years. Certain productivity habits that I've never adopted, certain ways of being present with people that I kind of like lose myself at times in certain situations. And I really want to be different. I really want to be this way rather than that way. And believe me, I've tried everything. Right? In terms of productivity and time management, there is not a piece of software out there that I have not tried. If I have either bought or rented or done the free trial on. Right? There's all sorts of self-help books that I've read about communication and patience and all that sort of thing. Like, seriously, it's not from lack of trying. And I can get very resentful about those issues, those problems that won't go away. And the resentful voice is often kind of a bully saying, you'll never change. You'll never be the way you want to be. This isn't for you. And it can get me very down. And I can really resent those issues. And what came to me today was the insight that those issues are actually gifts. Unsolvable problems are gifts. They're gifts because I can't solve them being the person that I am right now. Because if I coulda, I woulda. The Howie that's talking to you today can't solve that problem. Doesn't matter what tools I use, what technical solutions, what techniques, what strategies, what approaches, what models. If I could have, I would have done it already. And what that means is that that problem is the gateway to my next phase of development, to my next phase of becoming who I am meant to become. And I'm not talking about personal development like, a Tony Robbins sort of thing, like, oh, become greater. I'm talking about the acorn becoming the oak tree. I'm talking about a natural progression of myself into wisdom, into integrity, into unity, into compassion, that some part of me is not perfect yet. I know, I should have said, are you sitting down before I said that? Because I know that's so shocking. Right? Some part of me is still becoming. Many parts of me are still becoming. Maybe all parts of me are still becoming. And this problem is a flashlight giving me clues as to what the thing is that needs growth, what I'm going to have to be willing to feel in order to step into this new, unfamiliar, awkward, conscious incompetence at this new area, and what are the ways in which I can tell that I'm making progress. So like personal development. How do I even know? Oh yeah, I'm wiser than I was 5 years ago, but I'm still messing around with email before doing my most important work in the morning. What gives? So it also becomes a lodestone, a milestone to test and to confirm that I actually am growing. So if you've got any of those long-standing problems that just are intractable, unsolvable, driving you crazy, making you doubt yourself, making you question yourself, it's never going to change. There's something wrong with me. I'm never going to get this. Yes, you're right. The I who is speaking is never going to get it. But it's a gateway, a portal into exploring and expanding who we really are. And so for all of those intractable, unsolvable problems, today I am grateful and excited and curious and willing. So I want to thank you for watching. If you have questions about your own Thanksgiving, your own holidays, you can post them in the comments if you're watching this on replay. And I wish everybody the Thanksgiving, the holiday that you need to have. And wishing everyone many choices on your table and choices in the table of your awareness to play, pick and choose, and adopt and discard concepts, ideas, and lenses as they are useful or not. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Have a great holiday season.